feel weird going in with no notes. I have no notes for this.
You feel so naked.
I know.
So noted.
My brain's naked is the problem.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
I know that, Mr. Man. They also call them cereals. I'm not stupid, you know.
The story is ludicrous. You can imagine where it goes from here.
Fixes the cable.
In the 21st century, a weapon will be invented like no other. This weapon will be powerful, versatile, and indestructible. It can't be reasoned with. It can't be bargained with. It will feel no pity, no remorse, no pain, no fear. It will have only one purpose: to return to the present and prevent the future. This weapon will be called the Terminator.
You're dead, honey.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator. Your future is in its hands.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen out there in cyber world. It is After Dark. It is Black Dog Video. That makes this the Black Dog After Dark video podcast, a.k.a. Black Dog After Dark, or
Black Dog AD.
We are sitting here in Black Dog Video on Commercial Drive in Vancouver. My name is Dylan Reimer. I am a stand-up comic and occasional employee of Black Dog Video. And sitting to my right, as always, is...
I'm Alex Chisholm. I'm also an employee of Black Dog Video and the Rio Theater down the street where I work as a programmer.
I am Darren Gay. I am an occasional owner of Black Dog Video on Commercial Drive, and that's about all I do.
Because sometimes I own it.
Yes.
You know.
Well, you always say you're an occasional employee, but you work here like 3-4 days a week.
Not that. Really?
Yeah, at least 3 days a week.
Oh, feels like so much less.
Three days a week.
Yeah, and we are here to...
feels like so much more to me.
Well, yeah, well, it's because you are literally shackled to the place.
No, I mean, feel like you work here way
more.
more.
Yeah. Well, I just started turning up.
Because your musk is all over the movies.
That's right. I when you're not around, I just spray.
Spray everything.
The romantic comedy section. Yeah, and tonight we are talking about the 1984 James Cameron classic.
Piranha 2, The Spawning. No? But
no, but close though. It is the Terminator, the lesser known of. There's the Piranha universe and the Terminator universe.
Right.
Everyone loves Piranha. Mm-hmm. Piranha 2. Everyone went and saw it. You know.
Everyone's going as piranhas for Halloween.
There was like a stream of Piranha sequels in 3D.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about the far lesser known tech noir thriller, which is the name of the nightclub. Right. The Terminator, starring a young buck with a lot of spring in his step,
Michael
and
Biehn.
A lot of ambition. Yes, Michael Biehn and several and who's the one from Aliens? Lance Henriksen.
And also from Aliens, Bill Paxton.
Oh yeah, Bill Paxton's in this.
Yeah.
We are talking about the Terminator. We all went and saw it at the Rio. Now that everything is open again, more or less, responsibly open. We all have had our vaccinations, and it's been a couple of weeks.
Get vaccinated.
So the three hosts and the one tech guy, Greg, we all went down to the Rio Theater at Commercial on Broadway and watched the Terminator last Friday night. And
late night. That's the first late night movie I've been to the Rio Theater since the very first late night Rio Theater movie, Friday the 13th, way back in the day.
Late night? Oh, okay.
Back in 2008, that first Friday the 13th.
It's been how many years is that? Like 40 years since I've been there?
Yeah,
something like that.
At least.
Yeah.
If my math is correct, it's been 132 years.
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, and now this was really none of our picks.
It just came up.
So let's just start with Alex.
What was your pick?
Because was it my pick?
It was your pick. You insisted we need to watch something better known because
well,
we're too obscure.
Well, occasionally
you felt the need to pander.
There's this crazy idea that maybe more people would listen to our podcast if we talked about movies that more people had seen. Okay, as it was my pick, then I'll talk about my first experience with the Terminator. He showed up in grade 1
naked
with a bouquet of roses. Yeah,
he dropped out of the sky naked in your classroom.
That's right. And then he ripped out my teacher's heart and put it on his clothes.
Oh, awesome.
No, this was a movie that I was curious about when I was a kid because in I guess 1985 it probably was released on Super Channel, which is, this is going to sound like a crazy idea, guys, because we are in a highly profitable video store right now. But they used to put movies on TV, and you paid a service to see the latest movies, and it was called Super Channel.
Well, they weren't really the latest movies either. They're movies that had already been on video. Also, they would show like the same 3 movies every day for like a week.
Yeah.
Well, I never had Super Channel. I didn't know.
Oh, well.
So what we
what are you bragging about?
So
then?
what we relied on was about twice a year they would have a Super Channel free weekend to try and lure in
and they
victims.
They put all the bigger, flashier films on there.
Yes, like the Terminator, or what I was most interested in was the animated series Inspector Gadget, which you had to be some kind of rich hoity-toity kid to see. Anyway. So they had these free weekends, and I, of course, was not allowed to watch The Terminator.
No.
Nor was I allowed to watch.
Did you have? They're monsters.
I remember the weekend in particular. It was An American Werewolf in London, The Terminator, and Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and The Dark Crystal were all released that weekend.
That's a pretty good lineup.
And I was allowed to watch The Dark Crystal and Wrath of Khan, which I think is probably scarier than The Terminator. Both of them are probably scarier than The Terminator.
Those 4 movies. Those are the worst 2 of the 4, I would say.
I wouldn't.
I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying American Werewolf and Terminator are way better.
Your generation just has to go ranking everything.
I
would say the worst one is actually An American Werewolf in London. We don't have to get into it, but I think that's an overrated film.
It's good. It's a good movie.
It's a good film.
Amazing movie.
It's a good whatever. We're not going to start with that. Anyway, so I was not allowed. So I was not allowed to see The Terminator, and I assumed that I had seen it right up until we went and saw it the other night at the Rio Theater here in Vancouver, and it was about 15 minutes in that I realized that I'd never actually sat down and watched this movie.
You've never seen The Terminator?
It's on TV all the time, so you watch it in patches here and there, and maybe it was on at a party or something. It was never something that I actually sat down and paid attention to.
Yeah, and you didn't sit down and pay attention to it the other night either. You yacked through the whole damn movie.
I threw up?
Basically, a lot of verbal.
Oh, were you that?
Vomit, diarrhea.
Some old librarian shushed me about halfway through.
That's right. I actually want to watch the movie.
When I was whispering hilarious jokes to Darren, who was sitting right next to me.
Because we all know how much you love people talking through your stand-up sets. But anyway,
don't be dissing librarians. Librarians are cool.
Ugh, I've never met a librarian that I could stand. If I ever see one, I'm going to push her right into traffic.
But
anyway, technically my first experience of watching The Terminator start to finish was Friday night at the Rio Theater.
Watching, we use that term loosely too.
Alex actually shushed.
I did.
Shushed Dylan at one point.
I know. I just want to watch. Oddly enough, I just it's like trying to read an article and having someone constantly tap on your shoulder.
Well,
you're right. I just like to let the spell of the movie take
I was
over.
trying to get away from you the whole time, but you kept like sidling up to me and you put your hand on my knee at one point. It was really weird, and you're like, "Why don't you reach into my popcorn bucket, Dylan? There's a surprise at the bottom." And I'm like, "No, weird librarian, stay the hell away from me."
Never happened.
Anyway, so Alex, seeing as you're so incensed, what is your first impression of the 1984 James Cameron classic, The Terminator?
Well, I wanted to see it right away because Entertainment Tonight, there used to be a companion show as well, Entertainment This Week. People don't realize, but if you look back in the 80s, Entertainment Tonight and Entertainment This Week had more substance to it than the show now. In the early days,
they won a Peabody, I think.
Leonard Maltin would review and stuff, and they would actually do a more kind of slightly more serious bit of reporting on movies. And I remember they showed scenes from this upcoming Terminator, and it looked like the best thing ever. They showed the scene in the nightclub when Arnie confronts her. And I remember thinking this movie looked incredible, but I was too young to see it in the theater. I was only 12 in 1984.
Baby.
This movie was, for grown-ups. I first saw it on pay TV, Super Channel. Pardon me, I saw it.
Did you see it in the free weekend?
No, we actually had it.
You could afford the.
We had it, yeah.
The Super Channel.
We didn't have it very long, and a lot of it was because the movie selection, like they just kind of flogged.
It's pretty poor.
And we watched the Terminator. My mother, my sister, and I remember we were completely blown away by it.
Was your mom
and
blown
I've
away?
seen it. Yeah, we all were, and I've seen it a few times since then. And including just at the beginning of the lockdown, I watched it because I own a DVD of it.
Show off.
And I watched it at the beginning of the lockdown. Yeah, it's a favorite of mine.
How about you, D? Darren, owner and proprietor of Black Dog Video?
Sometimes owner. I actually saw it in the theater when it came out because I was of age. I was 19 in 1984.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved it. I've loved it ever since. I've seen it a few times since then, and I was blown away when I saw it. You know, being a 19-year-old stoner, it was great. That's exactly what I wanted to see.
I never knew you were so much older than me and Alex.
I am that much older than you and Alex.
You could have totally bought me booze back then. If I were drinking at the age of 12, I could have.
I would have bought you booze if you were 12 years old for sure.
But you would have been surprised because he's a Dartmouth kid, right? It's like, you want how much?
Yeah.
You want
Right?
eight bottles of 151 and a flat?
Screech?
I'm in kindergarten. Anyway, whatever. What do we have to say about the Terminator? I think there's a consensus here that we all very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a blast to watch again.
Yeah.
I loved it as much as ever.
It's terrific. Now
it's funny to go back and watch it because it's an 80s film, and you know I don't know if we're all big fans of 80s films. I'm a big fan of 80s films just for like the clothing, the music, just the hair, cars, everything. You know, it's just all of that stuff. I love 80s films, and as I assume you guys do as well.
The hair, the cars, the music.
All that stuff, all that jazz.
That made the 80s great.
Yeah, I love going back and watching 80s films. It's what I'm going through. I'm going through like a little wave right now. I'm watching a lot of 70s stuff, but I love watching the 80s stuff as well. And this movie is pure 80s. All that hair, the clothing, the cars, the terrible techno-y, keyboard soundtrack kind of stuff. So yeah, it just made this movie even more fun for me. And the makeup, it's like sometimes it's a little dodgy.
Yeah.
When it's close up of Arnold's face when he's gouging out his eye or whatever. The stop motion animation I loved in it. So there's a lot of things I really like about this movie.
I don't think that like any particular aspect of the special effects, like the stop motion or the rubber mask that Arnold's wearing when he's like ripping on his eyeball or whatever, is in any way distracting. It's just like, okay, well, this is a $6.5 million budget film, which is interesting in contrast to Terminator 2, which is a $100 million film. I mean, it's remarkable. It's like they invested $94 million more in the sequel than the original.
Well, they made a good profit on this movie.
Oh yeah, of course they did, and they weren't really expecting to.
No.
But with regards to the 80s thing, what stands out to me were basically the clothing, the hairstyles.
Yeah, especially Linda Hamilton and her awesome hair.
Amazing hair.
Yeah.
I love her roommate Ginger's hair too.
Yeah, she was
and
great.
I loved her Walkman. That she's
up.
Even during sex, she's listening to her Walkman.
She's got to be listening to music
and
all
it's
the
the
time.
same tape. I think the Lizard was very 80s.
Right.
The Lizard I found very distracting. It's like my only critique of this movie is why the hell, they had a pet iguana, right?
Why not?
No, okay, but the thing is, it was never in its terrarium. It was always.
You gotta let it roam around.
I'm fine with it roaming around too. I mean, I wouldn't be if I lived with them as a roommate. I'd be like, "You want to put that fucking lizard back in its terrarium?" I would say.
Is that a euphemism
constantly?
For something?
Well, I mean, yes. Anyway, but like at one point it's on top of a bookcase, I think, and then it's on top of the fridge.
Yes.
These things can't climb refrigerators.
Yeah, they can climb.
How does an iguana climb a smooth refrigerator?
Well, it's also a cluttered apartment.
Maybe it jumped up there.
So there's a pile of stuff for the lizard to climb to the top of the refrigerator.
Apparently there is, yeah.
We had an iguana one time. Actually, we probably shouldn't say this out loud, but we smuggled an iguana back from Mexico when we were
You're
kids.
Under arrest. Yes. I am an undercover iguana smuggling operative.
It was in the late 70s, and we were vacationing in Mexico. I can't remember where. And my parents okayed my brother and I to smuggle an iguana home in our carry-on back to Ontario.
My next question was, where did you smuggle it?
It was in the we had a carry-on bag, and we had a couple of like stuffed puffer fish that were blown up
That's
And
illegal. So you smuggled the one illegal thing and the other illegal thing?
Well, the puffer fish were dead. They sold them on the beach kind of thing.
Right.
So we put those on the top of the bag, and I remember the customs guy went to like look in there, and he like cut like jabbed in the hand.
Good Lord,
from the puffer fish.
You
and
booby trapped.
The iguana was in the bottom of the bag. And then we just took it on the plane. I don't think there were scanners back then because we didn't get scanned or anything like that. They would have saw an iguana.
Yeah.
And so we brought it back, and it lived in our house until it got too big, and then we gave it to a pet shop.
Wow. Right. So what did you do with the pufferfish?
How big did
the pufferfish was dead.
I know, but like.
I probably hung it up in my room or something like that.
How big did it grow?
I was about maybe 2 feet, maybe 2.5 feet.
Holy moly!
Yeah, but it would climb all over the place. We'd always find it on the top of the curtain rod in my brother's bedroom.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, and I can't believe
flush it on the toilet.
This
like
is
an alligator.
wild and crazy, but plausible in its own way. Time travel, killer cyborg movie, and you're just concerned about how a iguana got on top of.
Hey man, look.
Like that's more unbelievable than time travel.
A movie is only as realistic as its details.
That's true.
Alfred Hitchcock said that.
But the iguana itself.
In another universe.
Are we going to run through the plot? Is that what we're going to do?
All I'm saying is, how does an iguana scramble up the side of a smooth refrigerator? Smooth refrigerator.
I love that Sade song. Is that Sade?
Sade is a wine, isn't it?
It's Chardonnay.
Oh, okay.
That's my punk band.
I guess my point is this: it's like the few attempts at humor in this movie did not land for me at all.
What humor was in this movie?
Well, it's like I think the roommate with the Walkman dancing around all the time is supposed to be funny.
Until she got murdered.
Well, I didn't. Okay, like I didn't.
It's not so much supposed to be funny, but it explains why she doesn't hear her boyfriend being brutally terminated.
Yeah, you'd still hear all the smashing and crashing.
Those Sony headphones were my God,
I don't know.
Those foam plastic headphones back in the day.
they're
totally
so deadening.
Immersive. They drove people crazy because if you closed your eyes, you thought you were actually in the studio
in the band listening
to Party all the time.
No, what drove people crazy was your endless banner during the screening.
But I do not begrudge James Cameron for putting the lizard in there. I just wondered why.
Stop begrudging him.
I guess it was fun.
You should have had a flying
piranha. I guess it
piranha.
was fun to have the lizard in the movie. Like I guess, and I don't even know why it bugs me so much, but it was just completely unnecessary. And in a movie like The Terminator, I'm not really looking for moments of levity.
Well, I think in movies like The Terminator, when it's pretty balls to the wall action or walls to the ball, whatever it's called.
Balls and walls.
Balls and walls.
Except
you got to have a little bit of levity. You got to have a little bit of. You can't just have like a straight. You have to have a little bit of up and down. A little bit of.
I love the trombone motion you made with your hand there.
Yeah, just one note kind of.
Which
thing.
Traditionally is the noise you make when a joke doesn't land.
Right.
Anyway.
But yeah, it wasn't funny, but it pretty inconsequential. I know because we're watching the movie, and I think at least twice, maybe 3 times, you leaned over and said, "Iguanas can't climb things. This is fucking absurd."
Well, no, they can't climb. They can't. Not things.
Well, according to Darren, they can. He
sure
owned
can.
one.
I'm sure.
Although my brother didn't have a refrigerator in his bedroom.
Well, what would you know? I don't know. You probably terrified the poor thing by violating it with a dried husk of an already violent fish.
The pufferfish is not a violent fish.
It puffs,
and
it's spiky. It's the Terminator of fish, actually. It's the liquid metal Terminator.
It doesn't go after people. It's a protection thing, so it doesn't get eaten by other bigger fish.
Fat load of good. That did your dried up.
Yeah, well,
fish.
I did a lot of things I'm not proud of.
There's no way, by the way, post 9/11, you're bringing a spiky fish or an iguana.
Well, the spiky fish you probably still can. Although could you hijack a plane with a spiky fish?
No. Actually, the iguana is more likely.
Well, no, you can't bring live animals from one country to the next. We took it out of its natural habitat, which was our.
Osama bin Laden ruined it for everyone.
It triggered climate change too. You're aware of that.
We took it out of its natural.
Determined climate change was set in motion by smuggled iguana, and now we know.
It's the butterfly effect, the iguana effect. Well, yeah, we took this iguana from its natural habitat, which was the balcony of our hotel, and made it live in Ontario.
Yeah. And you paid.
It's also
and you
around
paid
the time
the price.
Responsible for the death of John Bonham. Like it totally was.
And maybe John Lennon.
I thought you were going to say John Lennon.
And all the other Johns, John
okay,
Wayne.
So we've established that apparently I'm incorrect. Apparently, iguanas evolved specifically to scramble up the sides of smooth 1980s refrigerators. I have no idea how it got up there.
Maybe the refrigerators were very smooth back then.
But I only point out the iguana because it's really the one detail of the movie that didn't quite work, and everything else worked for me. I got to give James Cameron an incredible amount of credit because before this movie, right?
I'm sure he'll be ready for that.
Well,
he can't wait to hear from you.
He's going to burst into tears when he listens to this podcast.
Sure. Well, when he won the Oscar for Titanic, a lot of people haven't seen the tail end of the acceptance speech where he apologizes for the iguana and the turtle.
Yeah.
Well, he goes,
I don't know what I was thinking.
I'm the king of the world, Dylan. And you're right about the iguana in 18 years when you do this podcast.
It was in my dreams. I had to put it in there.
But okay, so now James Cameron is a director that I find really interesting. First of all, he makes the kinds of movies that I would love to make, which is
Piranha 2: The Spawning.
Genre. It is okay. Let's talk about Piranha 2: The Spawning.
Actually, the idea for Terminator came to him he called a fever dream.
Yeah.
When he was in Rome, I guess promoting for some reason.
Piranha 2: The Spawning.
Although the courts disagreed and said that the idea came from Harlan Ellison, hence the disclaimer in the closing credits.
Well, Harlan Ellison also got an undisclosed amount of money from.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. Harlan Ellison, for those who aren't aware, sued James Cameron because it's the plot of a time traveler coming back to kill the mother of a future Messiah. They felt was lifted from an Outer Limits episode
called The Soldier.
By Harlan Ellison.
Yes.
Also, to our British listeners, it's
British listener?
Piranha 2: Flying Killers.
Because that what it's called there?
Yeah, I have no idea why it's called Flying Killers in Britain and Piranha 2: The Spawning in North America. There must be a valid reason.
Yeah.
It's called Piranha 2: The Quickening in Canada.
It's just the translation.
But there can be only one.
Yeah.
Only one piranha.
But Piranha 2: The Spawning. Now, okay, so I have a real soft spot for it.
I've never seen Piranha 2: The Spawning. I should watch that.
It is so much better than the first Piranha, in my opinion.
Oh, come on. Joe Dante's Piranha is awesome.
I think Piranha 2: The Spawning is... Actually, it's interesting that you mentioned Joe Dante, because he's another director where I always think if I were a director, I would make movies. I'd make fun genre movies.
Yeah,
I wouldn't make serious dramas or any of that crap.
No,
I'd want to be a Sam Raimi type or a Peter Jackson before Peter Jackson started sucking.
My favorite Piranha movie is Killer Fish with Lee Majors and Karen Black.
I've seen that one. Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's not very good, but it's pretty fun.
But so along comes James Cameron, right? He's just some guy, and he has an interest in. He's probably taken a couple of VCRs, and that's how he edits, or whatever. and he gets a job working for Roger Corman, I think, on Battle Beyond the Stars, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know.
Yeah, and Galaxy of Terror. He worked on a few films. That's where he met Gail Ann Hurd, who was his collaborator on this film, and they've collaborated many times since.
Yeah, he sold the rights to the Terminator to Gail Ann Hurd for $1, with the express condition he gets to direct it if they optioned it. And
he got screwed on the rights. So not only did he only get paid $1, it was something like, I think the rights to the Terminator character and universe or franchise or whatever. Only reverted back to him like 3 years ago, and that's why we got Terminator Dark. Dark shit.
So he's been broke since.
He's been living a lie. Yeah, he's penniless.
Well,
Hand-to-mouth project to project.
I hand him a $5 from time to time when I step over him outside the liquor store.
Oh, that's nice.
He didn't earn a single dime.
He says we'll direct 3D franchise films for food,
or the avatars.
He has been doing. It was like I think I got paid like 35 hot dogs or something to direct Avatar, which at the time is more hot dogs than any homeless director had ever been offered.
Did he get them all at once? What do you do with 35 hot dogs?
Well, I don't.
He's not Kobayashi. He's not going to eat them in a minute.
Well, they made Ziploc for a reason, man.
The Terminator film is my source of all-time favorite Hollywood trivia. That being. Shortlisted to play the Terminator, O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
Also, he was rejected for being too nice, and they didn't like the racial implications of a black bad guy chasing a female heroine.
Well,
white female heroine.
Oh, what's up?
Time out.
Oh, I have a fun fact.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I thought it was a technical issue.
No, it's not.
Okay.
But I am on Wikipedia.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Fancy Pants.
So, Mr. Cameron was married to Linda Hamilton.
He was married to Linda, really?
In 1997.
That's correct.
And after he fucked around on her,
bastard,
she sued him and won $50 million.
Awesome.
But that was after.
That was in '97.
They were married.
He married her after T2, I believe.
No, during T2.
T2 is '91.
Yeah. So he had the $50 million, I guess.
Oh
yeah. He was doing
okay. Good for it.
Yeah.
They're married in '97.
So when was he married to Catherine Bigelow?
That's a lot of hot dogs.
I guess that's during the first Terminator. I always thought that he was married to Catherine Bigelow, and then he met Linda Hamilton on Terminator, and then cheated on Catherine Bigelow, and then
I don't know any of this stuff.
I like this way better, by the way. Rather than discuss the film, I love discussing the private lives on a trashy level of the people involved.
He married Bigelow in 1989.
So
third wife, I might add.
Okay, so then Linda Hamilton his third wife in 1989.
He's been married 5 times.
Well, he and Gail Ann
Who gets
Hurd
married
were
fucking 5 times?
It's like the Avatar of wives.
That's correct.
Terrible.
Yes. And Hurd is the co-writer for the Terminator.
Yeah. Although he claims she never wrote a word of it.
It's true.
Yeah.
He also says that about Harlan Ellison, but of course.
Yeah, he had to sign a non-disclosure.
I got a question here because that Harlan Ellison thing to me sounds like complete and utter bullshit.
Well, that sounds
I side with James Cameron on that one. If H.G. Wells had never written The Invisible Man,
someone would have.
I know, but like. Nobody would have ever written a story about an invisible man. I just don't think that you can go, that guy goes back in time and like tries to kill a messiah. It's not the exact story. What was
it's like, Robin Thicke and the Marvin Gaye estate. That lame Blurred Lines doesn't really sound, I think, like the Marvin Gaye song, but the chords.
So I guess it's up to 12 cronies to just go like, well, whatever.
The judge or the juror, or whatever mood they're in, I guess.
I just don't think that the idea of going back in time to kill somebody to prevent the present
is that plausible?
Is so particularly original that like Harlan Ellison is like, there's absolutely no way anyone else could have possibly come up with this story.
But he came up with it first,
as a comedian, I hear this all the time. And before you guys say like, why, Dylan, do you steal jokes? No, it's just comics are always bitching about other comics stealing jokes, and it's like, well, I'm sorry, but your rectum damn near killed him premise is not so original that you can.
Well, I feel that way about
creative people come up with creative ideas.
Yeah, well, that's how I feel about music
dreams.
when you hear about lawsuits. It's like there's really only so many riffs to go around. Of course, they're gonna repeat.
Where do you stand on the Ghostbusters? I want a new drug.
That was a total plagiarism. I think the song sound exactly alike. And the other thing is that Huey Lewis was actually approached to score Ghostbusters and couldn't because he was working on Back to the Future. And secondly,
he was afraid
Ray Parker Jr. definitely saw a rough cut of Ghostbusters that had Huey Lewis music. They were like, okay, we can't use Huey Lewis, but the rough cut had a lot of his tunes, and apparently including I Want a New Drug. And those songs sound just alike.
They do.
All right. So, see, there you have actual tangible evidence.
There you go.
Whereas with Harlan Ellison, it's just like, I thought of a robot, and then Star Wars came out 20 years later. Give me $100 million.
Well, they did settle for some cash, so I guess there was something there.
Sometimes you just settle to shut them up, like whatever. Okay, it's like the Coming to America thing. I don't know if I don't. Anyway, whatever.
I would just love to have seen somehow in some kind of universe where the Terminator and Marty McFly cross paths.
And Coming to America.
You mean the Eddie Murphy movie?
The Eddie Murphy. Anyway, I don't really want to talk about plagiarism lawsuits. It's just going to get
boring.
I want.
Plagiarist.
Now, I have a great amount of respect for James Cameron because, like, I grew up and he was kind of always around. Like, the Terminator was there, and then Aliens and so on. And I never really looked at the name of the. This is back when movies. You didn't look at the name of the director. You just liked the movie and talked about the movie, and that was that. And you knew like this, like Sigourney Weaver was the star or whatever. And then eventually you start noticing who actually put these things together, and
that's what you mean.
And I started noticing that like two of my favorite sequels were written and directed by James Cameron, Terminator 2 and
Piranha
and Aliens. But Piranha 2: The Spawning was something my friends and I used to rent and watch, and we would like kind of laugh at it.
Yeah.
But then I went back and rewatched it, knowing that it was James Cameron's first film, and it's actually a lot better than it should be.
I should watch that.
I've actually said this on that podcast before, that like, it's a ridiculous movie about flying piranha, but it's well edited. You actually, the characters have an arc, and it's a thrilling action flying piranha movie. Like, the guy makes good sequels.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he gets Piranha 2: The Spawning, a movie that nobody else wants to direct, and he actually makes something out of it. Then there's the legend of James Cameron getting into like basically a battle with the studio who wanted a different ending or something.
To the Piranha movie?
To Piranha 2, and he said, all right, okay, fine, have it your way, and then he edited it the way they wanted it to be done. And then the night before, they sent the negatives to the whatever wherever they mass produce the actual movie that gets sent out to all the theaters.
I think it was Kinko's.
Yes. Yeah, they did it on a photocopier.
Yeah.
But anyway, he broke into the studio and replaced the reels.
With what?
With the version that he wanted, that the studio did not want, because his version was too gory or something. And then they just went and they mass produced it and sent it to the theaters.
That's crazy.
And the studios didn't say a thing about it. And then like 25 years later, he's like, you know what? I actually broke in and he had no time. This is a first time director, and he had no time for the bureaucracy of the studio system. Anyway,
I love the fact that he's so passionate about such a bad movie.
Yeah.
Like a piranha, a flying killer fish movie.
Flying piranha movie.
Yeah.
But as far as think of it from his perspective, like as far as he knew, that was the only movie he was ever going to make.
Right.
And he'd be
until he had this dream in Rome, this fever dream about a killer robot with like knives crawling across the kitchen floor.
I heard it was like a skeleton robot rising from the fire. Because he actually did paint it. Like, I think he had food poisoning or something.
So he painted it on as like his bodyguard's
Well, Schwarzenegger claims the concept art in James Cameron Home is in the likeness of O.J. Simpson, because executives were pushing to have O.J. play the part.
Well, apparently, but no one would believe he was a killer.
He was a killer. That was one reason, because he was on Monday Night Football at the time.
It turns out nobody did believe it in the end.
They also considered having Lance Henriksen as the Terminator and Arnold as Reese.
Actually, Arnold he read for Reese first.
And it would have been like what T2 ended up being with the, big hulking hero played by Arnie versus the unassumingly much smaller guy who's actually tougher.
Yeah. And also significantly less acting on Arnold's part if he plays the robot.
Actually, Mel Gibson he turned it down, and someone else.
He turned down Reese or the Terminator?
The Terminator.
Really?
Yeah, and there's another guy too. It was like someone else famous, like maybe Kevin Costner, somebody big at that time, because Mel Gibson was just famous because of The Road Warrior, which came out 2 years earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, he turned it down. And then actually Schwarzenegger thought it was a piece of shit when he was making it, because he was making Conan the Destroyer at the same time.
Yeah.
And he was quoted as saying, "Yeah, I'm just working on some piece of garbage."
Well, Conan the Destroyer delayed the production of Terminator, actually.
Yeah, for like 9 months or something.
Yeah, it did. So because then he went to Terminator, you could tell because it's like the haircut, right?
Mm.
He wasn't wigging it.
Actually, what I find interesting, and I don't know if this is speaking of haircuts.
Speaking of haircuts.
Now, what was this a deliberate choice? But I think in like the extended universe of the Terminatorology or whatever, they make a point of mentioning that. Okay, so in the beginning of the first Terminator, you see that horrible future, right? And then
it doesn't look that bad.
And no, I think it's great.
I mean, like, it looks like day at the beach.
Well, in T2 they say Los Angeles 2029, and we got 8 years.
That far away.
Yeah.
And I don't think a nuke is gonna be necessary. I think it's just gonna look like that.
It's just gonna be the climate.
But anyway, so the premise is that the robots are losing the war, and in a last-ditch attempt,
boo-hoo robots.
In a last-ditch attempt, they send a Terminator back in time, and then the good guys have to send Kyle Reese back in time because, like, oh no, But then in T2, they amend that to say, well, they sent 2 Terminators back in time to 2 different points in time. So
in T2 they did
with respect to the hair. Yeah, the story is that like it's like Hitler's bunker. You know, it's like the Allies are coming in, the humans are coming in, and so they send these 2 Terminators back to try and kill Sarah Connor, and failing that, try and kill John Connor. Right.
In the second one?
Yeah.
I don't remember 2 Terminators. It was just the liquid guy.
No. If you look at 1 and 2 as having the same origin story,
right.
then that's what happened.
Right. So they just keep sending them back.
Well, no. See, this is where the third movie and all the subsequent sequels kind of just drop the plot. Okay, in the first
one. By the way, the machines have taken over because basically.
Skynet.
Another point we didn't bring up is that in the future, 2027, machines have taken over because humans in the 80s world of the Terminator have put too much power in the defense systems into the hands of robots, and then robots decide to declare war instead of fighting each other on behalf of 2 opposing sides of humanity, like supposedly like the communists and the American Soviet Union or whoever the 2 superpowers are at the time. The robots decide to eliminate humans in general.
But that
probably not a bad call.
But Alex,
the environment looks better under machine rule than it does right now.
I don't know. It's a little dark and full of skulls
and radiation and dead humans.
Well, it is post-nuclear.
Anyways, okay, so all right, Alex, you're correct. But if I'm not mistaken, that detail that you just said comes up in Terminator 2.
It does, yes.
Whereas in Terminator 1, it's kind of left like, well, who knows what happened?
Yeah, they don't know who started the war.
But the thing that Kyle Reese says is, well, we were winning the war, and we were about to defeat the robots, and in a last-ditch attempt, they invented time travel,
right?
And sent a Terminator back. So in the first movie, it's only meant to be 1 Terminator and 1 human.
Well, that's what it is.
So the stakes are like concentrated.
Yes.
But then T2, they amend that and go, okay, well, they sent 2 Terminators back, and whatever.
That's T2. We're talking about T1.
And you let it go. Well, I don't think you can really talk about T1 without bringing up T2.
Well,
yes, you can.
No,
it was yours.
Well, I just watched last night. I rewatched Terminator 2 just to kind of brush up on stuff. And it's
after watching the first one, do you guys really want to watch the second one? Because I wanted to watch the second one immediately.
I had
to. The first one.
I had to. There's no question, and I wanted to do it before this podcast. Now the rest of them, I could not care less.
No, I couldn't care less either. I haven't seen T2
because
since
as the sequels go on, you start going. To quote Red Letter Media, is this their only solution to any problem in the future? Is to send Terminators back? Because then you're like, well, why don't you just go back to cowboy times? And one thing I've always wondered is, so let's say the Terminator is successful. Because in the third Terminator, a Terminator comes back and actually is really successful and kills like 6 people, right?
Sure.
Who are just like when they're teenagers or whatever.
That's a lady Terminator movie.
So what? Yeah, that's the one. But anyways, just in general, let's say that Kyle Reese failed and the Terminator killed Sarah Connor.
Sure.
Well, what then? Why wouldn't the Terminator just walk into a mall and just start killing people? Like, would a Terminator not just kill as many human beings as it possibly could?
Well, that's what they're programmed to do, though.
But it does a lot of killing. It wipes out an entire police station.
Yeah, but I know because.
Well, once it kills Sarah Connor, it just.
What they suggest is that you're supposed to do as minimal amount of time disruption while still killing your intended target.
Well,
so where is the minimal amount of time disruption when you're like killing a bunch of cops? Anyway.
Okay. Actually, but my question is, say he did kill Sarah Connor, and what does he do then?
Well, see, now you haven't seen Terminator Dark Fate, have you? Have you seen?
I have seen Terminator Dark Fate.
Well, you saw what happened. He got.
He got some goats who went and lived on a ranch or something.
Yeah,
right?
he found a single mom and is like raising some kid named Chad who hates him. And it's just he's just being this lame ass dad.
Well, the
it's
other
not
thing,
like that is literally what happens in Terminator Dark Fate.
For me, I've ever felt about this film, even though I love the movie. But what I always think is that okay, the Terminator's going back to kill Sarah to prevent John Connor.
Right.
So she had John Connor with whoever she had.
Reese.
In Terminator 1, well, not or the original John Connor wouldn't have been born via Reese.
Oh, you're gonna
so
start
having
that, yeah.
sex with Reese and getting knocked up by Reese, wouldn't that be a totally different kid?
Why would it
Like
be a
not
different kid?
necessarily John Connor. It'd be like it's someone else's DNA.
And they're like half brothers.
It could totally be. It doesn't matter. It could have been anybody.
Do you see what I mean? But I mean, it would have made slightly more sense if like Reese went back to protect an already pregnant Sarah Connor. But
Yes.
the fact that he knocks her up,
Or maybe
it's like,
she might have been pregnant.
she may have been. That's true. But the fact that it's a totally different father
Can't
than it
really-
would have been in the first word. Like, what if
It
she
was
gives
the
birth- what
roommate's
if she gives
boyfriend.
birth- Yeah, what if she gives birth and Reese's kid ends up
It's
being
a-
this
it's a
lazy
robot.
guy who doesn't want to be the savior or is totally inept? He has like
He's not the savior. He's a very naughty boy.
yeah.
He's not the savior. He's a very
You got
naughty
Brian
boy.
Connor. That would be perfect. Like a life of Brian.
Yeah, Gus Connor.
Ends up having Brian Connor instead of John Connor.
That was a random name I chose. Darren, I didn't.
What did you say, Gus?
Yeah, I said, your kid would be the savior, and then Brian would be the.
Brian's his brother. Oh my
Anyway,
God.
but
I
again,
know. It's getting
what
crazy.
I like about
crazy.
what I like about the first two Terminator movies is that they actually have the time loop thing figured out, and they don't
More or
really
less.
make too much of a reference to the mechanics of time travel.
Yeah.
The problem is in the subsequent sequels, with the exception of Terminator Salvation.
Which one's that one? Is that the one with Christian Bale?
That's the one that takes place in the future, which is actually better than people give it credit for.
I've seen them all. I've seen them all, and they're just. I don't remember any. of them
I
except the
like
first
it
two.
because it's the only one where they don't just go send someone back in time to kill his his kindergarten teacher because she was nice to him, and maybe he'll be grumpy and kill himself, or like Skynet has no plan other than send things back in time
Nope.
to the 80s and 90s specifically.
Well, why didn't they send like the Terminator back to kill Sarah Connor's mom, like in
Yeah.
the 50s, which it would probably be a lot easier to kill, anyone that you wanted.
Or just send a Terminator back to the fucking 1600s and just go around shooting every human being
So
in
just
Europe.
just kill everybody.
But then
then
Skynet never gets invented.
Exactly.
So they self-abort.
Exactly.
So it has to be, do not disrupt the past as much as possible. So
Except
I wonder,
kill all the cops.
except kill all the cops, right? Like, but the good thing about the Terminator and Terminator 2 is that they just really don't lean too heavily into these kinds of questions.
Because if they do those, because then all the answers kind of fall apart.
That's why, there
Yeah.
is that bit of dialogue too towards the end of the film when Sarah is making tapes for the unborn John Connor, and she mentions
making
about
mixtapes.
the loop, like in how if you think about this stuff too much, it'll drive you crazy,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I remember that when I watched it the first time, I never really thought about it. It's like my sister pointed out when we watched it the first time, it's going to happen all over again to her, or is it? Will the changes they've made at that time prevent?
See,
Well,
you
yeah.
shushed me when I made my best point, which is
Yeah, but you just
in the note that Kyle Reese brought back, it should have said, "Make sure to fuck Sarah Connor," or no, tell her to fuck Kyle Reese, and maybe maybe the future Armageddon is just a coincidence, and Kyle Reese is just some crazy pervert with a really really elaborate pickup line, which is. You are the mother of a future genius, but you have to have sex with me.
We're talking about that
and that
earlier.
weird Austrian dude over there, he's actually a robot from the future, so to kill you. And all of it was just like he's just a creep.
We're talking about it earlier today. It's like, well, why did we think of that as a pickup line when we were like, our randy 20 something age? Like, yeah, like I'm from the future. I probably shouldn't use that accent.
It brings a whole new meaning to come with me if you want to live. Come with me if you want to live. Anyway, and then the Terminator, and then tries it, 10 years later. Anyway, so the first two I think are have a perfect cycle.
Well, I'm always amazed that so many people have seen the second one without seeing the first.
That
one.
was me. I'd seen the second one like at least 12 times before.
But did it make sense to you? I guess. It
totally made sense.
I guess
it works as a standalone.
Well, because she said in the beginning.
It's the same with Aliens. Aliens works as a standalone film.
Even though I prefer part one of both franchises.
In fact,
I'm on the fence. I'm
more of a horror fan than action fan, and
I love
both the first two of the franchises, Alien and the Terminator, are horror.
See, I don't want to get into the whole Alien thing, but I will say that I think Aliens is pretty damn horrifying. Like,
it's a really good.
Well,
movie.
you know why it's horrifying? Because the first movie is so scary that monster is probably, in my opinion, is probably the best or one of the best monsters in the history of cinema.
The leprechaun.
Yeah. Where's my gold? And
Rob Lowe and Bad Influence.
But
we haven't done that one yet.
I know.
But that's what makes the second one scary, is because you know what these monsters are. But if you just went and saw the second movie without seeing the first one,
which I did,
it's not, those monsters aren't that scary.
I saw Aliens before I saw Alien, and it was absolutely terrifying. You didn't need the whole first.
Oh, I was obsessed with Alien when it came out. I had this beautiful picture book.
My first introduction to the Alien universe was they land on this planet and people are glued to the walls and aliens are bursting out of their chests.
But the thing is, it's way scarier when you've already seen the first one. You know why.
Maybe, but I was plenty scared. And as for Terminator 2, she does a quick monologue in the beginning, and that's what's great about both Aliens and Terminator 2 is they both work as standalone films. Where if you watch, because I had a weird experience watching The Terminator for the first time. Because I kept seeing it as a prequel instead of just the first movie, which is a weird way to experience that movie. Because my whole thinking was, there were times where I was thinking, man, this is how you should do a prequel, because Hollywood is rife with prequels now that totally miss the point and are completely unbelievable and lean far too heavily into Easter eggs and that kind of thing.
The Thing is a perfect example of that.
Well, see,
that could have been a really good movie because the way the thing starts is the dog running towards them.
It's a great premise for a prequel.
But it did not work, and I think part of the reason it didn't work is because the crappy CGI effects.
Oh man, okay, so just a little side note on that. Mm-hmm. Did you know they invested like millions of dollars into actually making that Thing prequel that came out in I think 2005, 2006? No,
2011.
2010.
2011 it came out.
Well, okay, whenever it was. They actually went ahead and started making prosthetics and rubber creatures and that kind of thing because the director said, I want to make this an homage to the original, and I want it to be
the original remake.
He said I want it to be the original remake. I want it to be seamless, and so they were actually. I think they even got was it Stan Winston who did the Thing?
I can't remember.
Well,
Rick Baker.
Okay, Rick Baker.
Stan Winston did the Terminator.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, they found the same special effects company, and they'd spent all this money and time making creature effects that looked identical to the Kurt Russell The Thing, and then the studio came in and said people love CGI.
Oh God!
It wasn't even a financial decision. They just said people love CGI, so we're gonna do it. And the director fought, and eventually the director lost, and then
I think they murdered him.
So that's why I think that Thing 2010, 11, whenever it came out, I think it's actually a noble effort that with studio interference ruined it. It could have been great.
Yeah. We should get the original, the Howard Hawks one.
I thought we had that one.
We don't. We had it at Canby.
I like that movie because it turns out he's just just a big vegetable. He's like a giant carrot.
But it's still scary.
It's a good movie.
It's James Arness.
Yeah.
Matt Dillon.
So he's
not the actor Matt Dillon.
So back to the Terminator. Let's talk about the effects.
The occasional shot of the rubber Arnie face was a bit, you could kind of chuckle at that, but overall, I think the film looks great.
It won. I don't know. I don't think Oscars, but it won sci-fi awards and stuff for best makeup, and it won a lot of awards.
The cyborg skeleton at the end is terrifying.
It's killer. I
so
remember seeing that. I remember that's it's because it's unstoppable. It just keeps coming and coming.
I'm sure.
And I think back in the day, we're being introduced to the unstoppable killing machines like Jason and Halloween guy and Freddy and those kind of guys. But this seemed to be because those are just kind of goofy horror movies.
Yeah, this was so for a sci-fi film realistic in its unrelentingness.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's terrifying looking.
It's so scary. And the big finale where the Arnie coating melts off.
Yeah.
It's enough of an explosion and it's action-packed that if you're watching it for the first time, you could think, okay, it is over now.
Yeah.
But the fact that the skeleton rises up,
which is great,
comes after,
yeah.
is so
and
scary.
even after he blows it in half, and it's still crawling after.
And by the way, we've shown this at the Rio many times, and in the very early years when I was still a projectionist and I was managing, I came out on the balcony at one point. It was a packed screening of Terminator 1 and 2 back to back, and 2 women in the upper balcony were losing their shit.
What do you mean? What are they doing? Taking their clothes off and dancing around like
no,
witches?
They were just freaking out. It's just so scary. They were like, it was like a thrill ride, kind of, but they were screaming out loud, especially when the skeleton is chasing.
That's awesome. I love when you can go to a movie and a movie will elicit
people
that kind of reaction.
People are generally reacting in fear.
That's awesome.
Because James Cameron, all right, so he has this fever dream. Like what I remember is it was on the set of Terminator 2, like during production, but it could have been I don't know when it was, but he had some. You
mean the Piranha 2?
What did I say?
Terminator 2.
Oh yeah, I meant Piranha 2.
Oh,
yeah.
so I was just reading the Wikipedia thing today. I'm just gleaning some information because we watched the movie last Friday, had some drinks, and I don't have any notes because we're in a theater, so I wanted to have something to talk about.
James Cameron is this like multifaceted, multi-talented person, right? Like he's a hell of an illustrator. It is said of James Cameron that he can work any of the jobs on a set.
Right.
Where he's just like.
Well, I think probably when you're working with Roger Corman, you learn all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah. So and also he's impatient with people on set because he's like.
He's probably a dick.
Don't you know how to light this thing? Whatever. Yeah. And also, I don't care if directors are dicks. There's
as
this
long as
whole
you
thing.
make a good movie.
Like directors should be nice. I don't care. Alfred Hitchcock was an asshole. Anyway, he had some fever dream, and then he drew what I remember was a skeleton rising out of a fire.
Sure.
Because he carries around a sketchbook and crayons, or whatever.
Just like DiCaprio in Titanic.
Well,
he did his
Those are his hands in Titanic.
Paint me like your Terminator girl.
Oh, it'd be amazing if he drew like
a Terminator.
The Terminator. It's like, oh, this makes no sense in any movies haven't even been invented yet.
Yeah.
Terminator comes back, has to prevent the Titanic sinking.
Right.
No, he would make it.
He has to prevent it.
The liquid metal Terminator would become an iceberg and ram into it. But only after Kyle Reese knocks up Kate Winslet.
He has to kill Rose because her real name's Rose Connor. She's Sarah's grandma.
Oh, dude, this is writing itself, and I guarantee you, there's already a treatment for this.
Yeah.
Some writer's been paid like $30,000 for this.
Harlan Ellison's waiting.
Anyway, so he all he had was an illustration, and then based on the success of Piranha 2: The Spawning, they offered him like, what do you want to do for a movie? And he said, and he looked at that illustration. He's like, okay, let's run with this.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and then interestingly, like halfway through the filming of the production of Terminator, he found out that they were planning a sequel to Alien, and the studio said, if this Terminator thing works out, we'll give you a shot at writing the Alien sequel. And then, like, the guy I'm so impressed with James Cameron because he just keeps proving himself, and like it genuinely is a meritocracy in his case.
A what?
Like he gets promoted based on his strengths and not necessarily nepotism or anything like that.
So what is the word you used?
Meritocracy.
Meritocracy.
Oh, is this
you mean based on his merit?
Is this the new Deus Ex Machina? Do I have to explain everything to you, knuckleheads? Anyways, yeah.
I like learning things. I like learning words.
But yeah, so it's like, and then Aliens is a hit, and then Terminator 2. The Abyss is.
Don't forget the Abyss.
The Abyss was not. Well, the Abyss made money.
Yeah.
It was probably. I mean, and the guy is ambitious. That's what I appreciate about James Cameron.
Yeah, he likes the big spectacle.
His least ambitious and interesting film, I think we can all agree, is True Lies.
Oh, I hate True Lies.
I don't hate it.
I didn't like it at all. I only got around to seeing it finally in the past year. I'd actually never seen it.
It has such an air of unpleasant misogyny and racism, and it has a couple good action set pieces, but it's a shitty movie.
It is a shitty movie, and it's funny you said that because when it came out, I remember Peter Travers of Rolling Stone, who defends a lot of movies that other people condemn, gave it a middling review and then wrote a separate article about the misogyny of it.
Yeah. Well,
and also when I was living in Montreal at the time, I remember a letter to like the Free Weekly, and it was written by a bunch of students who identified themselves in the letter, like to the entertainment editor, as being Middle Eastern, and they were deeply offended by the film and the imagery, and it used to demonize the Arabic and Middle Eastern characters.
Well, there's
True Lies isn't a very good movie.
There's a scene in True Lies. I remember I saw it in the theater when it came out. It was like, I can't remember what years, 94 maybe. I can't remember.
It was 94.
94.
Yeah, I think so.
And when he is interrogating, or he's watching his wife, Jamie Lee Curtis, being interrogated. And he's snickering with Jim Belushi. Is that his partner?
No, it's even worse. It's what's his name? Tom Arnold.
Tom Arnold, yeah, a poor man's Jim Belushi.
I don't know who's worth. I'm probably gonna side in favor of Tom Arnold, in that I would rather watch a Tom. I would rather have dinner with Tom Arnold than fucking Jim Belushi.
Well,
but anyway,
I always laugh because in our French
have.
Film section here at the shop, we have a section for Bar and Arnold. And it always makes me think of Roseanne Barr.
I never thought about
Arnold.
that. That's really funny.
But,
but there's that scene,
it's really despicable.
When I was watching it, and I wasn't very conscious of everything, anything really, when I was that age.
Yeah, you were baked.
Yeah, and I was really uncomfortable and thought that scene was just awful and made me hate the movie.
Yeah, it's very.
Well, okay.
And to make me feel like that. At that time, was like
this cold-hearted,
I know,
ruthless, arguably
killing,
sociopathic monster
killing
feel
machine.
Anything.
Unstoppable killing machine.
To bring it back to the Terminator, nicely done, fellas. Yeah, I mean that movie is his least interesting, I think, because it's the most grounded in
stupidity.
I don't know. It wasn't a fantasy. It wasn't really science fiction. It was just a dumb action movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, the guy has consistently done a lot with whatever resources he's been given.
Which is pretty much all the resources.
Let's not forget Titaninator.
Oh yeah, that movie with the boat that sunk.
And I remember, like, for 3 months, every single thing you would read in the papers or the press, the trades or whatever, was this is guaranteed to flop.
Were you reading Love the Trade magazine?
I was reading Empire Film Magazine.
That's a good magazine, actually.
And like a lot of British stuff, because I was in Scotland at the time. And I was like, this movie's going to be terrible. And then, sure enough, it's the biggest thing ever.
It actually was the biggest thing ever.
It beats the Phantom Menace for highest grossing film of all time.
It was before Phantom Menace.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
you're right. It was. Sorry.
It was before. No, and it
was 97.
Beat Phantom Menace. It beat the biggest.
I had Avatar and Titanic mixed up. But anyway, so my point is this:
Phantom Menace was never in the running for biggest movie, was it?
In 1990? Are you kidding?
No.
It made a tremendous amount of money.
Yeah, but it didn't make like Titanic money.
The re-releases of the first Star Wars and E.T. were the top grossing, like the re-releases in the 90s, and then Cameron topped them both.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, so then 10 years goes by, and you haven't heard a peep from James Cameron except for this a Ghost from the Abyss documentary on IMAX.
I never saw that.
Which I'm told, is very good.
I guess he was kind of obsessed with Titanic at that point.
He's obsessed with underwater. Anyway. Yeah. And this thing, Avatar, is apparently never going to come out, and there's no way that this is going to be bigger than Titanic. And then, lo and behold, it's bigger than Titanic.
I've never seen Avatar. I missed it in 3D. I'll watch it when it eventually gets re-released.
It's fun, man. It's fun. Watch it.
It's okay.
I've always avoided it because I just think the visuals look so tacky. Blue creatures are just. I don't want to look at them.
There's a couple really late. It's not a great film, but it's an average film. Yeah. Like for him, the other, like True Lies is the worst film that he's done, and this is for me the second worst film.
Well, technically speaking, or technologically speaking, or whatever, the story of Avatar is almost immaterial. It's Dancing with Wolves or Ferngully. You go to see this to put on the 3D goggles, and I swear to God, I was not prepared for how stunning and immersive the special effects were. Thinking about all of this when I was watching the first Terminator, and I'm like, so back in 1984, this stop motion fucking metal skeleton robot rising, I mean, that's like the equivalent. Like what he did with $6.5 million back in 1984 I think like directly what's the word, relative to what he can do with $100 million in 2010.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you look at his movies, a lot of his movies have that thing that you've never seen before, like the Terminator, and you look at the Abyss with the moving water, like that was really cool, and then T2 with the melt, the liquid. And
Robert Patrick.
Yeah, like it's just and even Aliens too, with the fight with the alien at the end with that giant cool machine that she's in. Everything, there's always something interesting you've never seen before.
And there's a reason for it all too.
Although Titanic, there's not, it's some boat sinking.
There's always a reason for the special effects, right? Like in T2, it's not just like my friend Dylan Cuff and I used to joke about they should make a movie about a special effect that escapes from the studio and rampages through New York, because the story is irrelevant because it's just all about the Twister is the best example. We now we know how to make tornado special effects, and so I don't know, throw Bill Paxton. I can't believe I make that mistake every time.
Speaking of Bill Paxton, he's in this movie.
Anyway, I just think the guy knows how to make a little go a long way, and there aren't that many directors I can think of.
Or a lot go a long way.
By the way, is one of the punks also the freaky helicopter pilot from Miracle Mile?
I believe he is. He's also the bad guy in Cobra.
Yeah, he is the bad guy in Cobra.
Yeah, that guy he's got a sort of a big jaw.
You've been threatening to make us do Cobra on this podcast.
I like to do Cobra. I think it'd be fun.
We should do Cobra, but with Patrick. Yeah. Patrick is obsessed.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. Like the music, I think is really great.
Yeah. Well, it's a little dated, but the thing is that the main like that heavy which really comes into play in T2, because their bones were in this one. That's great, but all the other kind of the synthesizer 80s, take it or leave it.
There was a chase scene. And most of this movie takes place at night, driving through the streets.
Yeah, very noir.
But like that first chase scene,
they were chasing. There's probably got cops involved.
Yeah, the music wasn't particularly memorable, but I do remember thinking it was appropriate. Which I also focused on in when I watched Terminator 2 last night. Man, these movies are so similar.
Part 2, I remember laughing out loud in the theater, me and a friend, at the desperate plug of the Guns N' Roses "You Could Be Mine." Like they play it on the kid has the radio on his lap while he's being doubled on the motorbike, and he's playing like as part of the soundtrack itself, rather than just sounding shitty and just.
And then that desperate plug for like a box of roses when the Terminator is like hiding a shotgun.
I love that scene.
Because after that, I'm like, I want to buy a Guns N' Roses album, and I'm gonna buy some fucking roses.
and a gun.
Oh man,
I never thought of that.
You couldn't get away from
fucking GNR
that god. Because I never liked Guns N' Roses ever.
And
you could not escape. You Could Be Mine. Yeah. And it drove me nuts because the music video would be all these awesome scenes from Terminator 2, but I would have to sit through Guns N' Roses music.
I don't know that song.
You could be mine.
It was on User Illusion.
I gave up after the first album.
It's a bad tune. Yeah, only the first album's good. By the way, Welcome to the Jungle used well in the Deadpool, lip synced by Jim Carrey. Not Deadpool, the Ryan Reynolds movie. The Deadpool, the Dirty Harry film.
Oh. Which is Jim Carrey's in that?
Jim Carrey is, because the Deadpool begins with the music video being filmed. The director's Liam Neeson, and the actor lip syncing.
How have I not known this before?
Jim Carrey, and then he dies right away, and Harry's.
Wow.
Harry's investigating.
Which is the only Dirty Harry movie that I've seen is the Deadpool.
Really?
The first film is brilliant.
Yeah, it's
the
great.
Sequels aren't.
I like Magnum Force.
Anyway, let's not go down a rabbit hole here.
A Dirty Harry rabbit hole.
Topic.
Let's not go down that dirty hole.
Dirty Harry meets the Terminator.
The interesting thing about Terminator 2, like when I watched it last night, was it's like James. It reminded me of Evil Dead 2 in that it was almost like James Cameron looked at it like, oh, I could just remake this movie where I had no budget,
a little bit bigger budget,
with a bigger budget, and just do it better, because it's beat for beat. It's the same story, it's the same plot. I mean,
John Connor's already been born in T2.
Yeah. But you see his mom getting it on, huh?
In T1.
Yeah.
With that blatant body double.
Was it really?
Oh, totally. It was
I
totally.
I didn't think it was.
I totally thought it was a body double.
Do you think she was liquid metal?
Yes.
Just. But it was like watching the Terminator. I just saw all of. All I could say is it was a perfect prequel to Terminator 2, but I know it's ludicrous to say that.
Well, why'd you say it then?
I don't know, because there's a microphone on my face and you guys aren't saying anything.
Well, because you're saying everything.
It's all about time travel, so why not go back in time?
Is there anything else? I mean, the effects. We've talked about the effects. I love the rear screen projection. I love the miniature. The miniatures, they look fake now.
What were the miniatures?
In the very beginning, when you see the future, it's like it's quite clearly.
Right.
But again, I love that they made these little. That they
little skulls.
Yeah, imagine making all the tiny skulls.
Well, someone's
the little tank tread running over the tiny little skulls.
Well, I've always liked, the way the Terminators come back, they ball of lightning and then they're thrust naked, for some reason, always into an alley. Like why?
Yeah, it's never at the Super Bowl.
Not the first one. Arnie appears. It's like the observatory or whatever.
Well, it's wherever the location of that machine, the time travel machine, was, right?
Yeah, but what if it happens like in a classroom or something, or like at the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Or that would be like a lot more interesting, like in a Macy's or whatever. It's always in a dark alley.
Yeah, I have no complaints.
Well, I mean,
I'm not complaining. I just
stop complaining.
I find it amusing.
Send a Terminator back after you.
I'm hypothesizing about things happening differently. That's all.
I
think
and again, it's like as soon as you start asking questions, because then
if OJ had played this part, maybe he never would have disgraced himself. He would have become a big super
butterfly effect, man.
Yeah, maybe he never would have been a murderer in real life.
I don't think so, because OJ. I mean, say what you will about Arnie, he's not the world's. He's not a master thespian or anything.
Yeah.
But I actually think Arnold's
California governor. OJ?
He's perfect for this.
I think I actually think Arnie gets a bad rap when it comes to acting. Everyone's always like, oh.
As far as I'm concerned,
you know why? Because he's not that good.
For movie monsters,
so are a lot of famous people who people like revere as being these great actors.
But for movie monsters,
no one's ever revered Arnold as being a great actor.
I'm not saying. Sorry, Alex.
For movie monsters. Karloff, Frankenstein, Schwarzenegger, Terminator. It's one of the greatest movie monsters ever.
I agree.
He does a completely iconic.
Yeah.
Which would have been weird knowing that he was up for the Reese role.
Yeah.
Because like it wouldn't. I kept seeing this movie work at all.
First of all, he couldn't hide. Like get down in the car and then he's right over there.
I'll just use this giant.
Picture of getting it out, letting him like I've traveled across time because I love you, Sarah.
Yeah. Well, you know, he only had 17 lines of dialogue in the whole movie, under 100 words, and the line "I'll be back." He didn't want to do it because he couldn't say "I'll" because of his accent. So he wanted to say, "I will be back."
But James Cameron...
He didn't say Cameron insisted, no, it's got to be, "I'll be back." Well, and it's became one of the most iconic lines in movie history.
The way Arnie... I saw this thing with Arnie the other day where he was talking about that, and he says, like... So I say, to James, it sounds weird with my accent. I'll be back. It's just not strange. And he says to me, how would you say it? And I say, I will be back. And he says, no, I'll be back. like, I don't tell you how to say that. I tell you how to say. You don't tell me how to direct. I do not tell you how to say the lines. Yeah. That was my attempt. I attempted an Arnie.
So you were doing Arnie. You were doing James Cameron doing Arnie.
I was doing Rich Little doing James Cameron.
Is Rich Little still alive?
No.
I like Rich.
That's what made my impression even more impressive.
Is he dead?
Is I had to go into another ethereal realm to be that hack.
Well, my favorite Rich Little is Little Richard.
Don't. That's just dumb.
So Terminator 2. Do we have anything you guys about or Terminator 1? Anything
Terminator
left
1.
It's a classic. I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah.
See it if you haven't already, and if you have, watch it again.
After just I could watch it again anytime.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed it so much watching with you guys. It was fun.
Yeah.
I've owned a DVD for years.
It was fun going to the theater.
Yes.
I think it's
my first time in a year. The last time I was in the theater, at the Rio, I saw Cats.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I was really hoping that
Can
was.
you
gonna be
imagine if you died of COVID?
I was gonna say I thought the last movie I saw in the theater was Cats. Would have
I
been.
mean,
I'd be
I'd
fucking
be sad because you're
gravestone.
dead, but I'd
Yeah,
be like,
well.
his last movie was Cats, and that's kind of funny.
Yeah, actually, it's not a bad way to go.
The Cats gave him COVID. I think that the Terminator is a testament to an upstart young talent with a creative vision who just cared the fuck out of this movie.
Yeah.
He clearly loved making this movie. I mean, everybody involved did a great job.
Yeah, he had to get financing because when I can't remember what the studio or Reiner was say we'll do this, but you got to get financing.
I think it was Carolco, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. But so he had he was friends with Lance Henriksen at the time. So he had Lance Henriksen pretend he was a Terminator and go into some guy's office and kick the door in, and with his leather jacket on and sunglasses and just sit in the chair and not say anything.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I was reading about this today. Yeah, it was crazy.
That is the craziest thing I've
Yeah,
ever heard.
and so then Cameron came in and calmed everyone down and explained what was going on.
But you know what? You hear stories like this all the time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work. Like when Sean Young showed up in a leather Catwoman outfit.
For Catwoman or
no,
for Batman?
for Batman Returns.
Oh.
Because she
I like
Sean Young too,
yeah.
but that's a case where she put on similarly a leather outfit and showed up like, obviously I'm Catwoman, and it's like, no, we're going with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Isn't that how you do most of your gigs? You just show up like unannounced at the club and
dude,
go on stage and start telling jokes.
As Catwoman.
I break into people's homes and wake them up from a deep sleep and
just yelling jokes at them.
Kids' birthday parties, you show up
and then I insist they pay me or I'll get my agent to sue them.
The Wikipedia thing, and it's so they're describing things with the plot, and I'm reading it, and trying to find Sarah Connor's, all the Sarah Connors to kill Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
And it says he's looking through a directory, and under the directory they have like a little blue line, so you click on it to find out what that is.
So what a phone book is?
Yeah. So you click, and it takes you to. It says it's a phone book.
That's hilarious.
Which I thought was so funny.
You know what? In the future, they will actually have time machines, and kids will be like, they'll have more of an understanding of the time machine than the phone book.
Well,
Reese would have needed that explained to him.
Yeah. Well, whenever I'm watching a movie, whenever my wife and I are watching with Gus, and someone's on like a rotary phone or doing that kind of thing, and that's a telephone because it's got the cord attached to it.
Well, it's funny to think, that phone booth once had the built-in phone book.
Yeah. And you could, in movies you could always go to and rip out the page you want and then leave.
Well, Marty McFly, I always imagine in Back to the Future someone coming up and looking for someone instead of Doc Brown, looking for like David Bronstein or whatever, and like, what? I guess this guy doesn't exist because he's not in the phone book.
Yeah. What do I do?
I am time travelers always coming to the past and ripping out pages from the phone book.
It's like
because apparently in the future there is no device you could carry in your pocket that would give you a listing of where these people live.
Yeah.
It did make me laugh that this computer from the future, and in fact in Terminator 2 it's the same thing. Okay, in the first Terminator it's like, should there not already be like a computer database of all of your enemies? You know? But whatever, I'm not gonna. Maybe it's the computers emerge separately and they don't have, maybe they don't have the internet in the future. I don't know. But with T2, it's the dog moment where Edward Furlong or John Connor phones home and the dog is barking in the background and the liquid metal Terminator is taking over his stepmom
or whatever,
his stepmom or whatever, or adopted mother or whatever.
She doesn't have like pinned to the wall.
That's the amazing bit where she gets him right through the milk through his face.
Yeah.
But the dog is barking, and then Arnie uses John Connor's voice and goes like, "Hey mom, why is Wolfie barking?" You know, because the dog's name is actually Max.
Right.
And then he just hangs up and goes like, "Your foster parents are dead." Right. It's great, but it's like, well, hold on. The dog didn't have a name tag, or like there's no record of registering this dog at this address that the Terminator.
Well, I mean, he did all his research.
Well,
But this is
Terminator can
pre-internet time
Yeah,
travel.
but they can overlook details. They're not going to know.
Well, yeah, of course. And I would hate for him to go to follow George Lucas and try and go like back and
Oh,
like
please don't touch anything.
CGI and something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, 1984, The Terminator. It's great. It is a movie of its time.
1984.
Isn't that what I said? Oh my God.
You said like 2029, I think is what you said.
That's not what I said.
You said 1994.
These
Your
grapefruit new trails.
All I know is in
are going to my head.
2027,
And
there's going to
go.
be some serious Terminator parties going on. And when's the movie?
2029.
9, yeah.
We got
so
8 years.
Yeah, there's going to be memes galore. You
If
think
we
the memes
survive.
are-
So,
Yes.
I guess
If we
I guess
survive,
I guess let's wrap this puppy up.
Well, let's say we loved it.
Well, yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
let's
Classic.
let us do the ritual. So
Yes.
let's start with you this time, Darren.
Yeah.
Does the movie hold up?
Totally.
Okay, and secondly, it's Monday here at Black Dog Video.
I love
which
Mondays.
is 2 for 1 Monday.
I don't hate Mondays. I love Mondays.
A customer you didn't shoot up a school.
Not yet.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a Bob Geldof reference.
Yeah,
Bob Geldof didn't murder anybody.
Sorry. Disclaimer. I'm not actually going to shoot up a school ever.
Let's start that again. Well, you never know.
No, I know.
Never say never.
No, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to do that.
We're not putting this in the podcast. I was thinking this was an edit-free recording, but apparently now.
Now we got the FBI after us.
So yes, and
or whatever the Canadian equivalent of the FBI is.
CSIS. And they're terrifying.
The CIA.
With their name that sounds like penis. Okay, so let's try that again. Darren, does The Terminator 1984, directed by James Cameron, hold up?
It sure does. I loved it. But to be honest, it was so much fun to go to the theater with you guys, my buddies, Greg included, of course, and have some beers and watch The Terminator on the big screen.
And get shushed by some librarian.
Yeah, some old crusty librarian.
Second question. It is Monday here at Black Dog Video, which, as you know, is 2 for 1 Monday. A customer brings the Terminator up to the counter. What movie would you recommend that he or she or they or them or rent as a companion film to
Well,
this?
first I'm going to say, cool, rent The Terminator. I just saw it the Rio last week. Secondly,
and T2 is a given. We're just going to say that.
Yeah, no,
right?
I'm not going to recommend T2.
T2 is a given.
But I was trying to think, because I like killer robots. I like unstoppable killing machines. So I'm going to recommend a movie that we did for our podcast 2 years ago about a robot who killed called
nice.
Deadly Friend.
Excellent.
Yes.
Friendly Dead.
Yeah. Because I had so much fun watching, again, with you guys. It's the only time we've ever actually watched the movie and then a podcast immediately afterwards.
Yeah, this is the...
Yeah, and we're a little tipsy, I think, for some... I remember for some point that evening. Deadly Friends, it's a fun, crazy Wes Craven movie.
Wes Craven film?
Yeah. But,
there's a beautiful young robot.
Yeah, Christy Swanson.
She bashes the old lady from Throw Mama from the Train's head with a basketball.
It's so great.
I wish I could remember her name because she's so great.
Anne Ramsey.
Anne Ramsey gets her head exploded.
Yeah,
Is it her or is it someone else?
No, it's Anne Ramsey.
It's Anne Ramsey. Owen. And then and somehow a basketball explodes her head.
Yeah, cool. It's a robot throwing.
So Deadly Friend
is
Darren's pick. Alex, same 2 questions. Does it hold up?
Absolutely.
And what
hold
do you
up.
recommend to go with the
Absolutely
Terminator?
hold up. I'd do one or two. As usual, I have more than one pick.
Yeah.
I have 11
It would either
picks.
be another Ernie being Total Recall, just because it's a blast. It's not nearly as good as the Terminator.
A fine
but
choice.
Well, no, it's a fun film. It's like
I
I watched
it
year.
again during lockdown. It
me
is a
too.
really fun movie, but it doesn't hold up as well as Terminator. It's a blast.
It has
though.
some cheesy bits in it, but it's a good film.
It has
for sure.
it's
It's
blast.
Vorhaven, so
Yeah,
you got to like it.
So I would, and it's funny you say that because apparently there's a note take. It was floating around on the internet during the making of True Lies. Apparently, he yelled out in frustration at one point, James Cameron, let's just get Paul Verhoeven to direct this.
Really?
Probably would have been way better.
It would have
Anyway.
actually.
Anyway,
he's a better director.
But Total Recall or a much gentler take on time travel, a movie I
know you're gonna
like a
say.
lot called Somewhere in
Oh,
Time.
I
knew you were
can't
gonna say
believe
that.
you're going somewhere in time.
Christopher Reeve and Jane
Superman.
Seymour. It's a gentle love story time travel film, although it does also consider the implications of the effect it'll have on you in the present day if you
Butterfly effect.
if you undertake such time travel. So it'd be one of those two, Total Recall or Somewhere in Time.
It's an interesting pick because Christopher Reeve became a cyborg.
He did?
Never mind.
He did? You mean because he had metal legs or something? I don't understand.
Never mind. It was the most tasteless thing I've ever said into a microphone.
Wow, you said a lot of tasteless things.
By the way, Christopher Reeve.
He's dead now. He doesn't care.
Tragedy plus time. Right?
I thought maybe enough time had gone by that I could make a Christopher Reeve joke, but
why do you understand the cyborg thing? Because he's in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Well, that's not a cyborg. He's in
a
wheelchair.
By the way, I have a friend, a comedian who is in a wheelchair.
Do you make fun of
this
person all the time?
I often refer to him as a Terminator ancestor.
Oh.
And he thinks it's hilarious. So I can say anything as long as someone I know finds it funny. Anyway, okay, so that's two things we have to cut out of this one.
Nothing's being cut out.
As for me, I would say that yes, absolutely, it holds up. In fact, it was much better than I was expecting. It's terrific. And I love the 80s stuff, which is like it's got the time capsule element. We haven't really talked about the roommate and her creepy boyfriend and stuff like that, but but who cares?
Actually, he was in Roxanne, which a movie I really like.
Oh, is he the big dumb guy?
Yeah, he's a big dumb guy in Roxanne.
He's really funny in Roxanne.
Yeah, it's a great little film.
Well, do you want to change your pick to Roxanne?
No, I'm okay.
If it were Monday and somebody asked me for a companion film.
T2?
It's a hard... No, T2 is a given.
T3?
T2 is a given. I'm going to say check out, believe it or not, Piranha 2: The Spawning, because it's another example of James Cameron doing a lot with an even smaller budget.
Right.
And you see just how good he is at how resourceful he is with the lighting and the editing and all of it. I think we should probably do it as a riff track. I think it'd be a lot of fun because it is a ridiculous movie. It's Flying Piranha.
Right.
You were doing a riff track the other night during Terminator.
And
during the Terminator screening, you did a fine imitation of a vibrating cell phone left on during the movie.
Ouch! You cut me to the core, sir. And if we don't have that. Westworld, I think, would be a really fair companion piece.
Yeah, sure,
because even Arnold Schwarzenegger on the set.
The TV show or the movie?
The TV show I find tedious.
Yeah.
I love the movie.
The movie's great.
And even Arnold Schwarzenegger is said to have based his performance on Yul Brynner in Westworld.
Based his performance.
Yes.
He just walks around saying his 17 lines.
The guy does not get enough credit. I think he's a better actor. I think he does comedy really well. He does action really well.
He's fine. He's not what you call a good actor, but he's fine. He's competent, and he's gotten better with age. I like old Arnie. I like his the old grizzled Arnie.
Oh, I thought you meant like virile Arnie, like Hercules in New York City.
Yeah, I've never seen. I don't know. He's problematic when he's younger.
Okay, well, we will leave it at that. Problematic. We do have something to announce, however. Friday, August 13th. What are we doing, guys?
Oh, I think I'm probably gonna. What was this? It's a Friday. I'm probably gonna go to bed early. Maybe have a cup of warm cocoa.
Incorrect.
What?
What you are doing is you are joining me and Alex here at Black Dog Video for an all night marathon of every Friday or Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Yes.
Okay, so last year we did a successful fundraiser for the Vancouver Food Bank where we watched every single Friday the 13th movie on Friday the 13th. Alex had no problem with it.
To be honest, I had a blast. It was fun. We started, I think, at 11 in the morning.
9 a.m.
We got here at 9.
Yeah, we started at 10 a.m. We finished around 3 a.m. You stayed until 5 a.m. because you watched the one in space. Yeah.
It was like the end of The Long Walk by Stephen King. He just kept watching Jason movies.
Yeah, I went home at 3.
I did not watch Jason X because it's not a Friday the 13th movie. Anyway, so it was such a success that we've decided that every Friday the 13th we will do a horror movie marathon right here in the store. This year, we are doing the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
Yep.
Yes.
We are going to dress up the shop to make it look like Elm Street.
We're gonna wear, I thought we were going to make it look like Alex's bedroom.
We're going to wear Johnny Depp's bedroom, where it's just a hole with a bunch of blood.
Yeah.
And then Amber Heard with a piece of shit on the edge of the bed.
Yeah. But why don't we bring like a bed in, and we'll make a big bloody hole in the middle. We'll just sit in the bed and watch the movies.
It's in the bloody bed.
In,
we don't know what we're going to do.
Oh, we all tucked in. So cute.
But check out the website, blackdogvideo.com, blackdogvideo.ca. We have 2 of them. And for further updates and we will encourage you to donate online.
It's going to be great. We're going to
bring food by the shop.
Yeah,
we're going to win prizes.
We're going to be giving away fabulous prizes. We're going to hit up all the local businesses again. Hopefully they'll be as generous. I'm sure they will as they were last time because we got lots of great stuff.
Yeah.
Every movie we'll give away some cool things.
Yeah.
We'll live stream it. It's going to be a blast.
It's going to be a really good time.
It's going to be the best thing you'll do all summer.
That is
possibly in your whole life.
Friday, August 13th, 2021, right here at Black Dog Video. And to make things even more exciting for me, I'm going to Winnipeg the next morning at 8 a.m. So
you're going to stay up all night
to hang out with my girlfriend's family for the first time ever.
Oh,
so I'm going to have a bunch of Freddy in my head and no goddamn sleep.
And you're probably going to be hungover
probably hungover.
So we'll start drinking as soon as the shop closes.
Just stay tuned and that will be happening. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors,
tell your enemies, tell your
We have been
enemies.
recording this at Black Dog Video, which is at 1470 Commercial Drive here in sunny East Vancouver.
Well, it's actually dark now. It's nighttime.
Well, it is now.
But where's the best place in this neighborhood to get your hair cut?
Oh, Jefferson's. I love it. It's great.
It's where I go for all my hair needs.
If you want to talk about Marvel movies and Star Wars and shit like that with some geeks who actually cut your hair well, that's the place for me. So check out Jefferson's Barbershop. Thank you to Greg for being our master technician, long-suffering.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
Sitting there
Thanks for putting up with us.
Talk out our asses. I have been Dylan Reimer. Thank you for listening. And who have you guys been?
I've been Darren Gay, and I will be tomorrow as well.
And I'm Alex Chisholm. Hopefully I'm still Alex Chisholm in 2029. And
you're still alive, and you're not a Terminator?
Until then, not a Terminator.
You'd be a great Terminator.
You'd make a pretty good Terminator.
Yeah, you're big, you're imposing, you're lifeless.
But the thing is, Alex, you never get anything done, so you'd be a procrastinator. Let's leave it on that. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And if someone tells you, "Come with me if you want to live,"
go with them.
Have sex with them and
produce their baby
and get pregnant.
Yeah, that's the best thing you can do to save the future.
Cheers.
Good night.
The Black Dog After Dark podcast is recorded at Black Dog Video on Commercial Drive in Vancouver, Canada. Presented by Alex Chisholm, Darren Gay, and Dylan Reimer. It is produced by Dylan Reimer and Darren Gay. Alex just kind of stands there and drinks beer. The intro and outro music was recorded by Tiger Burning Bright, composed by Jeff, who works at Jefferson's Barbershop, also on Commercial Drive.
You're dead, honey.